only to brainwashed people. Does
Inclusive means that maybe 23 million people don't lose health coverage.
Okay.
All right, resolved. I'm brainwashed, fine. Let's move on to some new shit, because this is old, this old shit.
Fine.
So let's talk about Betsy DeVos.
Okay, I don't know much about her, but go ahead.
All right, so let's talk about education.
Oh, God.
What, you've been a teacher much of your life. You've been an art teacher at a number of schools. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to deal with the problems of teaching people shit that they don't necessarily want to learn. But, I mean, you've been involved in education for a huge chunk of your life. So why can't we talk about education?
Talk about it all you want. This is your subject. You have the floor. Go ahead.
All right. Well, I think education is really tough to figure out what to do with.
Okay.
You and I grew up in a time when everybody went to public schools. Most people went to public schools, and the public schools seemed pretty good, right?
They were adequate. Go ahead.
All right, adequate. Now they seem, people like to think they're broken, and they maybe are in some ways, and there are problems that have to be addressed. One problem is that 100 years ago, school was the most interesting part of a kid's day. That you're either in school or you're walking down Rosner farm, behind a donkey, pulling a plow.
Okay.
So school's great because that's where the information is. That's where your friends are. But now you go to school, you have to turn off your devices where your friends are, where all this juicy personal information is constantly being fed into you, and you have to sit in a classroom without electronic stimulus, without personalized information, and it sucks because you're where the information isn't. And that's what schools have to address. How do you freaking continue to educate people when they get more information, even though it's shitty information that doesn't help them learn from their devices?
Okay, well, I have a conservative answer to this. I'm sorry, I can't believe it. I do have a conservative answer.
Okay.
The problem with education is that education begins in the home. If your family believes in education, then you'll get a lot out of it. And you'll make sure to go down to the schools, and you'll try to make the schools as good as possible for your kid.
Hold on, because I'm going to agree with you.
Oh, thank you.
If you look statistically at what is the biggest predictor of educational success, it is affluence in the home.
Okay.
There's a huge correlation between SAT scores and parental income. And generally, more affluent homes are less chaotic than impoverished homes.
Okay. But there's a reason why impoverished homes are impoverished. And statistically, in impoverished homes, they're generally single-parent homes. So the family has already broken down.
And you're going to say it's because of welfare.
No, well,
the welfare state.
There are a variety of reasons for it, but if you want your answer to welfare, or if you want your answer to education, have the husbands marry the wives, marry the mothers. And that would solve probably half your education problem.
Maybe, but that's a trickle-down system that takes a generation to do. A better way might be, and I talked to a teacher about this yesterday, is give the parents, even in the homes where they're single parents or they're poor or they're hassled because life is just harder to negotiate for poor families in many ways.
Okay.
Give them toolkits. Also, poor families are more clueless about how to get the best benefits out from educational systems. Like frickin' Carol, my wife, not frickin', but my wife spent hundreds of...
A lovely woman.
Yes, spent hundreds of hours learning how to milk the limited resources of the LA public schools to get good schools and good programs for our kid. It's very complicated because resources are super limited because LA public schools are largely broke, and you have to jump through all these hoops. And as an educated person in a two-person family, she was able to do that.
Okay.
But somebody who's poor, who's maybe the English isn't their first language, isn't, maybe there's a deal where LA Public Schools, if a school has a shitty principal and the parents all go crazy and say, this is bad, get her out, get him out, whatever, they will send that person. They can't fire him because of tenure rules or whatever. It's called, I think, March of the Lemons or Dance of the Lemons. They'll send that principal to be the principal of a school where the parents don't speak English, they don't know how to get action, they don't know what's going on.
Do you know why? I'm going to answer that. Because the highest contributor to the Democratic Party is the teachers union. And
Wait,
so,
hold on, because I agree with you that there's some shitty stuff about the teachers union.
thank you.
But now, I don't know a lot of specifics, but they always kind of give me the willies a little.
Well, they're the ones protecting the bad apples. That's
Well,
why you
probably-
can't fire the bad teachers. Because the Democratic Party protects them by enacting laws because they're being contributed to by the teachers union. The Democratic Party has always been corrupt. You vote
No,
Democratic.
all right, hold on, then we're back to marriage counseling stuff where you just jump from a specific point to the Democratic Party has always been corrupt. You make an absolute statement. But
course.
anyway, so maybe the teachers union kind of sucks. Or
What if-
maybe maybe that's one aspect of the union that sucks, and there are other aspects that are good. I mean, I'm in a union, and being in the Writers Guild, and that union is fucking great, and justifiably defends writers so they don't get fucked over, because the entertainment industry loves to fuck over writers. And, well,
Okay, I agree with you.
okay, so your dad was he was probably one of the first members of that.
Yes, but my point is this, is that you're arguing against the people you're voting for. You keep voting for the Democrats, and they keep protecting the teachers union so that kids get a bad education.
Well,
The teachers union
there
is-
are more factors than that. For one thing, teachers don't get paid
Lower your hand.
that much compared to other professions
They get paid adequately.
but
They get, wait a minute, they get a good middle-class living, and they get 3 months a year off for break. That's better than anybody else gets. They get 3 months a year off for summer. It doesn't get much better than that. Plus a good, solid, middle-class average paycheck.
yeah, but if a teacher's making 60 G's and a policeman's making 80 and a or a fireman is making, I don't know, 95 or so after a few years. I don't know, teaching doesn't necessarily attract the most. I mean, I've had a number of awesome teachers, but statistically, it doesn't always, and the teachers I know are great, but teaching also attracts people who maybe, I don't know, it's kind of a neglected thing, but I don't know how to specifically fix it, except one thing that was suggested to me is that you give parents a toolkit to get involved. You push parents more to get involved. You're talking about home life. Well, a lot of parents are clueless or pushed too hard by other parts of their lives. But if you can get parents involved in their kids' education, then you see better educational outcomes.
I agree.
All right, so should we move on to something else?
Sure.
All right, what else?
You pick the subject.
I don't know. I ran out of shit. Let's
All right.
break for a sec.
All right.